Hi. Hi, my name is Tracy and I'm an alcoholic. And my sobriety date is January 2nd, 1989. And I have a sponsor and she has a sponsor and I sponsor women. And one of
Uh-oh. Your
he,
frozen.
his wife is Henrietta. So Bill W. says, Henrietta, the Lord has been so good to me, curing me of this horrible disease that I just want to keep talking about it and telling people about it. And so that's why I say, sure, you need me this week. What do you need? I am all in. And it hasn't always been that way. You know, don't be impressed with the date of my sobriety, because I have been one of the people who, balked. I've just found out recently that I used to think, oh, those poor people that are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves for people. And I am one of them. That's why Bill puts it in there, is because all of a sudden I see an area of my life where I have been constitutionally incapable of being honest. And it took strong sponsorship and the gift of desperation. Okay. So I was sent to Alcoholics Anonymous in 1988, whenever I was 20 years old, and I had already accumulated 2 DUIs at 20. And I was in California, and I'm just a young girl growing up thinking that, how am I going to get life to work out for me? I didn't know the term at the time, but I was irritable, restless, and discontent from the get-go. I was maladjusted to life. I found out by reading the doctor's opinion and, the symptoms. My life circumstances brought me to Alcoholics Anonymous. I came for my drinking. I stay for my thinking, and I just was on the phone with a beautiful sponsee here in Mexico who speaks English, go figure. And she's going to have 15 years next week. And and we hit little spots in this sobriety sometimes where, and we were just now reading, because I suggested to her, as I did at 30 years of sobriety, where I was revisiting the steps. I met a woman who became my sponsor. She came out, well, I'm jumping all over, but so I don't need to really go into qualifying. I want to talk about Alcoholics Anonymous and today, what's going on for me today. But to qualify, I got the 2 DUIs. All my drinking was blackouts. Most of it was underage. All of it was underage. I had a fake ID, and I didn't get into trouble every time I drank. But when I got into trouble, there was usually drinking involved. And I just couldn't fit into this world. I thought my problem was I had red hair, I had white skin, I had freckles, I had knocked knees. I used to really think I was like, I had a lot of secrets. I was really not like everybody else. My parents shopped at Goodwill. There was a lot of dysfunction in my family. They were both raised by alcoholics. So a lot of ACA, untreated. This disease affects families. And I'm one of them, because it wasn't how much I drank or how often I drank. It's what happened to me when I drank. And what I've been able to, after, having kids, getting married, having kids, moving to another country, trying to always, I knew, because when I got here and you guys read incomprehensible demoralization, I could not pronounce it without stuttering, because it was just too big of a word, for me. But I understood what it felt. I understood. I thought, oh my God, that's the description. That's me. And everybody was insisting, are you an alcoholic? You admit you're an alcoholic. Get on your knees. Really early in sobriety, I was at a men's recovery home, because I thought, okay, all right, I'll be a loser. I'm 21 years old at this time. And I'm going to, just be here for a year and a half, because the state of California will send me to jail, or I will lose my driver's license if I don't stay here. So I had a court card, and I listened to the similarities, not the differences. And I ended up feeling like, oh my gosh, you guys are my people. You're telling my story. You're exactly talking about how I felt. And so I thought, you know what? Let's give it a try. They seem to be happy, joyous, and free. I thought, my life's not working for me. And so I was in enough pain. I was uncomfortable enough that I said, well, all right, I'm all in. And I did it as thoroughly as I could, where they ask, to follow these steps as thoroughly as we can. And I did the best I could at the time. I really earnestly, worked the steps. I was taught early on in that exposing myself, telling on myself, to at least one other person on the planet, a sponsor that I felt safe with, that I could tell all of my deep, darkest secrets to. And not only just the secrets, but like who I really am. There's a part in the book that says that we want to enjoy this certain reputation, but we know deep down inside that we don't deserve it. And that aspect of alcoholism is who I am today. I have to continue to be honest with myself. I'm sometimes constitutionally incapable of being honest with myself. And so what I get is I established a relationship with a sponsee, and I was willing to tell on myself and tell her how I really feel, the beautiful inventory that we get to do. We get this solution that invites us to uncover, discover, discard, but in the step 1 in the 12 and 12, it says, who's willing to do this self-examination, this making restitution, living for another person, living on a spiritual basis. Who wants to do that? Only the dying, and so until I tap in to that reality of, in the doctor's opinion, that I have a disease, I have a malady, I am maladjusted to life, not necessarily because of the liquid that I'm putting into me, but what I have a lot of evidence now, being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, kind of in the not drinking club, how you doing? Hanging in there. I spent a lot of years in that not drinking club. But all of that gave me all this evidence that, I'm an alcoholic and my life is my life is unmanageable by me. And so I did the best I could. I kept going to meetings. I sponsored women. I always tried as earnestly as possible to do the third step, to say, all right, God, they say step 1 is I can't. Step 2 is he can. Step 3 is I'll let him. So I tried to give as much as I could over to God. And there were areas that I thought, no, I'm not really, and I'm not sure that, because that jumps back to step 2. If I'm not really having a God that I can do business with, then surely I don't want to turn my life over to him, because I'm afraid of what's going to do with it. And I had that, what Bill talks about at 25 years of sobriety, his addiction or his dependency on things, places, prestige, power. I mean, that's my alcoholism today. I'm sorry if I'm boring you of the ones that are like brand new, but welcome, because what I have found is that you guys are my purpose now, because I've gotten to enough pain to where I'm willing to dive in and do this program exactly how it's lined up in the book. And I have a lot of evidence of my drinking, but a lot of evidence of my untreated alcoholism that makes me very desperate and very motivated to say, I need help. Self-reliance isn't working. I will give you all the benefit of the doubt, and I will do what you do because I want what you have. I want to be rocketed in the 4th dimension. I want to be happy, joyous, and free. I want to, I want those promises of step 3, which is we're going to lose interest in ourselves and our little plans. We're going to face life successfully. We're going to feel this new power flow in. We're going to enjoy peace of mind. Those, I'm not trying to impress you, but those are on page 63. And that is why I am hungry. I am hungry, because if I wake up, I hear around the rooms now, I wake up with untreated alcoholism every day, and I hear a beautiful woman now recently saying that I wake up and I get a divorce. I get a divorce from self-pity, selfishness, self-centeredness. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me, because my head will wake me up and say, newsflash, you're pathetic. Your husband left you for another woman. You're alone. All your friends are on Zoom. You need to, what are you going to do with your life? You're really overweight. Nobody really loves you. My head will do that. And so I have to say, what? God, hi, God, it's me, And so anyways, in order to combat that negativity, that doomsday, doomsday in my head. I get tapped into God, what Sec talks about in the spiritual experience. What you mentioned earlier is that, apparently yesterday was the 87th anniversary of that white light experience. I mean, wow. So when we get, what happened is I had my sponsor in San Diego when I moved to Monterray, Mexico to raise our children in the country that my husband was from. I said, all right, sure, let's do it. So we moved, and I don't have Alcoholics Anonymous at Access. I joined an online group. I went up to Texas as often as possible, and I just enlarged my spiritual life with God, which they talk about in the book. And I learned that Jim failed to enlarge his spiritual life. That's why he put whiskey in his milk. So I thought, all right, I got it. Check. I can do this. But it's a we program. And I was thinking that I could do it by myself. Well, the nature of my decisions brought me to a country where there was not a whole lot of, there wasn't even an English speaking meeting here. And so those of you who are getting sober right now, I am so grateful. I'm so happy for you because you have literally the world at your fingertips. If you've got internet and you've got some kind of device, then you've got us. And that's where I am today, is I am with you. I am hanging out with you. I need to be with you because Bill clears up that enlarging your spiritual life. On page 14 and 15, he's got a beautiful sentence that I love. It says, if an alcoholic fails to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and service to others, he will not endure the low spots and the trials ahead. So there's going to be some low spots and some trials ahead. Even if I work a perfect squeaky clean program and I do everything my sponsor tells me to do, and I'm going to no, because guess what? I'm still here. I've got, some of the defects. I've got this daily reprieve, not only from my obsession for alcohol, but I've got a daily reprieve from my alcoholism, my untreated alcoholism, my head, my brain racing uncontrollably. Bob. So I'm in Mexico. My sponsor, I'm still using my sponsor in San Diego, and she ends up getting really ill. And I stopped kind of using her as a sponsor. We just kind of, I was reading the daily reflections to her because she couldn't read. And so I wasn't enlarging my spiritual life through work, maybe service to others, but I was not doing my work. And so I had a lot. Now I know I had a lot accumulated. I wasn't doing that daily inventory. I wasn't doing that, that house cleaning that who's willing to do? Only the dying. So sometimes, we have to hit different bottoms in this room. I mean, for me, that's what happened, is that I was seconds and inches away from probably slipping and probably dying, because they say a head full of AA and a belly full of alcohol is not a good combination. And I know that my alcoholism, cunning, baffling, powerful, it is, I will not pick up where I left off. It's progressive. So I have a healthy fear of picking up a drink today. And I ask God every day, I get on my knees and say, please help me stay sober today, because I still believe in that miraculous little, that enlarging my spiritual life, that if I ask God, but I got to couple it with the work and the service to others. And I've heard that, if you ask people that relapse, what'd you do? What happened? And I've heard, and I don't know, my little theory is that I get on my knees. I roll out of bed. My feet don't hit the ground. My knees hit the ground first. And I ask God, I say that third step prayer that I was able to finally memorize. It took me so long. I was like, victory over what? And someone got to explain it to me, that it's God show off through me. Like the makeovers, the beauty makeovers, we got the before and the after. And so when I allow God to come in and take the reins and I quit playing God, I can recognize it's not working. Self-sufficiency is not working. It didn't work with my alcoholism. I couldn't grit my way into not picking up a drink, and I can't grit my way into living at peace with others. And, there's a beautiful part that says that what the goal is now is to fit myself into maximum use to others, and doing the house cleaning and looking at my stuff and being willing to invite God into the equation, then I get to get right. I get to get right with other people, you know. And when that happens, you know, all sorts of remarkable things follow, because now a little bit of Tracy has left the building. I'm not as selfish and self-centered as I was. And so now I can start thinking about you. And I tell you, if anybody is still stuck in that vortex of, hanging in there, you know, and you're sober, but you're just pissed off all the time. I got to remind myself that I was mad at all the people around me. You know, my car was always having a problem. The people that I interacted, that was their fault. If you had these people, and I'm sober. You know, I'm sober, long-term sobriety, mad, instead of being grateful, you know. So back to that spiritual experience, you know, so this woman comes to Monterray, Mexico, and I'm thinking, I was so arrogant. I said, ask her to bring me a 30-year token because someone's coming from New York. Bring me a token because I'm, you know, sober. I was cocky. I thought, I'm staying sober because I thought I was locked into God. I was enlarging my spiritual life. I did not see how irritable, restless, and discontent, and how much of the bedevilments were happening in my life. You know, I'm having trouble with my personal relationships. And I was just basically, you know, God, change them. You know, I just was praying. I was a prayer warrior. I was praying all the time, just trying to enlarge my spiritual life, thinking God's going to keep me sober and then someday everybody else will just shape up all around me and with double digits of sobriety. So I started, something happened in my life that really knocked me off. I was very huge betrayal from my husband, and I wanted to run out in front of a bus at 25 years of sobriety. And then, so I started going to the Spanish meetings, and I started, you know, stepping in, you know, getting desperate enough to just know that, you know what, I can't do this without AA, you know. And I remember a woman came to meet me, and she said, your name's Tracy. And I said, yeah. And she goes, I just wanted to see if you would sponsor me, or just kind of hang out with you, or just because my husband cheated on me and I went back out and drank, and now I can't get sober. And that was a gift, because I got to realize that, yeah, that's what happens. The life happens, and we sometimes pick up a drink, or we dive in deeper. We dive in deeper into service and to, you know, start over. So this woman comes to Monterey. She realizes that this is such a God shot, because my sister in California got sober maybe 13 years ago. And she was telling me about her sponsor and her sponsor. They have a meeting every month. But what the thing was, is they read the big book page by page. And I have a lot of friends around the country, but no one was willing to read, you know, be my sponsor and read the book with me. And I didn't think I needed to. I thought, I know the book. But so this woman, she's in the same sponsorship line, and we just both started crying. And I said, would you be my sponsor? And that was a Monday. So by Thursday, we were on the phone reading the preface. And I thought, really? We need to read the preface? And she's like, yeah, we're going to read the preface. So we started reading, and I was reading it like I was brand new. She taught me the set aside prayer. God, help me set aside everything I think I know about you, about the steps, about this book, about sobriety, about spirituality. Help me set it aside and be teachable. And in that moment, I got the gift of humility and desperation to say, this woman's willing to be my sponsor. And she says, I'm going to invest a lot of time in you. Are you willing to sponsor other women? I was like, you know what? What have I got to lose? I've been living life Tracy's way, saying, I'll be the responsibility prayer. I'll be the responsibility statement that I'll be available for Alcoholics Anonymous Monday through Friday between 9 and 5. Preferably after I get my facial. And if I have time, I might pick up the phone, but I don't know. Something shifted in me. And I was in enough pain that I started giving my phone number away. I started by reading the book, like, oh my gosh, you know, and it was amazing to go back and be like, I relate to Bill. And she's like, Good job. Good answer. When I can find myself in this book and say, that's me, because that's what it says in the preface, is that the whole purpose of this book is so that you will say, yes, that happened to me. More important, yes, I felt like that. Or most important, yes, I believe this program will work for me. So I guess my little message is, wherever you are, whatever your day you're on, come back, act new, And so I'm reading this book with her, highlighting it. Actually, I started with a new book. Because you know what? I could have been new. I could be new tomorrow, but thank God I got asked by Glenn and Carol to come here and to practice this program and to get out of myself and to share with another alcoholic. The miracle has been that it says that an ex-problem drinker, properly armed with the facts about himself, can help another alcoholic where no one else can. And so guess what? I have a purpose today, is that, and I've been gifted and graced the little tick in my head where I was willing. I soaked it up. I said, yes, that's me. Yes, this is, oh my gosh. Bill was talking about his mind racing uncontrollably the day before he got sober. And I'm like, that's me last Thursday. I'm an alcoholic and it's a technicality. Does there liquor in me? It doesn't matter. I'm an alcoholic. My life's unmanageable. And I picked up this book, my sponsor, we were reading through it, and she would insist on every time where there's a little asterisk, we'd have to go back to the spiritual experience. I think, yeah, we read that. I'm good. And it's like, you can never read it enough. I love it. I love being annoying with my sponsees and say, time to go back to the asterisk, because every time we read it, there's something magical that comes out. This book, if you're willing to read the book with another person as if your life depends on it, watch out. God sees that, and I'm trying to explain that to one of my sponsees who's saying, yeah, but, because I was a yeah, but girl. And that part, the profound alteration in my reaction to life, for that to have happened again after years of sobriety, of being like, thinking I know it all, because once upon a time I did this, and in 1990 something I did that. No, honey, what's going on right now is I'm in conflict with everybody and everything. I'm playing God. I'm, irrational. And it said there, it describes me also, I think in the 12 and 12, it says living life with an alcoholic is unbearable, or something like to that effect. And I finally could see with inventories where we get to, we've got beautiful sheets that you can print out. Basically, I've got PDFs that, my sponsor sends me, I print them out. I just fill in the blanks and voila, and I have to be honest about, I get to be raw, just down and dirty, honest with myself. And the words that she invited me to look at was, how am I selfish and self-centered? Because those are really general terms, but how am I not seeing other people's point of view? Oh, well, I guess if you're going to be all nitpicky, yeah, I don't see other people's point of view often, very often, and the miracle is, that's the profound alteration in my reaction to life, is that I can start to see other people's point of view, and so, you can stay sober and rack up a bunch of time, or you can work this program and apply this spiritual toolkit to your life. And then the promise on page 100, which is the things that we placed in God's hands turned out better than we could have imagined. And we can live in a wonderful world in spite of our present circumstances. Okay. My present circumstances, I think, are the worst possible thing that I could have happened to me. I'm abandoned, oh my God, and what I'm able to do because of this design for living, because of diving in all head first, putting, just all my eggs are in the God basket. All of my eggs are in this AA plan. This is my plan for life. From here on out, I'm going to just do that 11th step as, God, what do you want me to do today? Because you know what? Tracy died. I was rolled out on a stretcher. all of my old life, what I wanted, what, what I thought I needed to have happen. And, and I realize now is that I needed them or it or something to be okay, to do something to make me okay. That dependency. So I get to live this life that if I sit and I think too long, I can get up in a tizzy and I can get into that. It says we constantly watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. I wasn't constantly looking at that ever. I mean, maybe once a year I looked at that kind of stuff, but what a gift it is to have this structure. I've got clear-cut instructions of how to live a happy and useful life, and it's a small price to pay, be rocking back and forth in my bathroom right now. Oh, woe is me. Like Christmas is coming. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's going to be horrible. No, you know what? Christmas is just another Friday. I get to help save a life, help save a life. Maybe God would let me say something that would help someone say, you know what? I want that miracle to happen to me too. If it's 1 year, 20 days, 2 years, 20, 30 years, whatever, we have a daily reprieve contingent on our spiritual maintenance, and my spiritual maintenance, I know what that entails today. Steps 10, 11, 12. But I can't just all of a sudden pop in and say, okay, I'm going to pick up at step 10. No, I have a sponsor that loves me enough, cares about my life enough, and not about my feelings or hurting my feelings. And, just this week, I said, I'm going to do this grand act. I'm going to send somebody a heater. And I said, I'm going to call the office and I'm going to have my husband's company buy the heater and deliver the heater. And she says, what do you think that is? And I was like, no, it's nothing. And she says, I said, is it manipulation? She says, no, what about dishonesty? And I'm like, oh God, she's so picky. So yeah, it's going to be a little dishonest. So guess what? I got invited to go to the store, buy the heater myself, wrap it. And I did, it is far away. So I got to take somebody up, but it was through like collaborating. That's how God gets involved in my life today, is that I don't tell her everything I do, but for some reason that came up in our call. So she got involved, and I believe that God speaks through her or speaks through people. You guys, we're God with skin on, because I don't have a direct line to God. I do two-way prayer now, because now that I'm all in, everything fell apart at the seams, and I'm very aware. Am I going to drink today? Am I going to need to numb the pain? Am I going to need to check out? No. Because in the third step, in the 12 and 12, it talks about, that whenever the true test of the spiritual dependency was when they got sent off to war. And it says, when World War II broke out, the spiritual principle had its first major test. AAs entered the service, were scattered all over the world, kind of like us, okay? Would they be able to take the discipline and stand up under fire and endure the monotony and misery of war, COVID? Would the kind of dependence that they had learned in AA carry them through? Well, it did. It did. And we had even fewer alcoholic relapses and emotional binges than the AA Safe at Home did. And they were just as capable of endurance and valor as any other soldiers. I think we're soldiers, whether we're in Alaska or on the Salerno beachhead, that dependence upon a power greater than ourselves is far from being a weakness. This dependence is the chief source of strength. So that's what I did. I followed the dictates of a higher power. I stayed close to him, performed his work well, because everything else fell apart at the seams. So I'm finally acting my age in sobriety. Carol, you've been here for so long, and you've probably done this. And I'd like, I was slow sobriety. It took me a long time to really, but you know what? The thing is that maybe I didn't have that low of a bottom and get that beat up with my drinking. But I certainly had a low bottom, and I got beat up with my alcoholism. Even with the plug in the jug. And so I just want to just share, I can't say no. If someone asks me to come, it's like, God did not do this for me. We cannot transmit something that we haven't got, and we cannot keep it unless we give it away, and that line that I started with is that the Lord has been so good to me, I can't, and it has nothing to do with what's going on outside. What it is I feel comfortable exactly on page 63, those promises. I feel comfortable in my own skin today. I have a purpose in life because I just stay small. Just today, 24 hours. I don't have to think about, I get to work with women and sometimes they'll say, well, in July of 2022, my insurance might run out. And I said, oh my God, if I'm thinking about July of 2022, I'd probably get into a tailspin too. But I'm not going to go there. Today, what is it? December 15th. We think about the 24 hours ahead. We ask God, to direct our attention. I ask him that I get divorced. There's a divorce that's happening. And I willingly say, divorce me from self-pity. I'm tired of living in that, that jail. It really is a jail, but I don't know what moment all of a sudden everything that the words on the pages just jumped out at me. But I surely had to be committed to reading the book because they won't jump out at you on the shelf. That's my experience. As my book was up on the shelf, collecting dust. And I got a new book. I thought, I'm not getting a new book because I don't want to change from page 449 acceptance to 417. I was hung up on that. Well, guess what? I'm a 417 kind of girl today because that's what it is. I can't keep hanging on that one. But, and that's a beautiful story that he talks about. The acceptance is the answer to all of my problems. If there's something wrong with me. And I fought it. I was like my sponsee this morning saying, why do I have to be the one to always ride and change and accept? Why? And my sponsor used to say things to me. My old sponsor would say, get out of your high chair and stop flinging the food around. I'd be like, Judy. And she'd say, who? Because when I would say, I don't want to write. Why do I always have to write for my dad's wife? For me. She's not worthy of going in my pretty purple iridescent journal. And then she would say, is your sobriety worth it? Okay, if you put it that way, then I'll pray for this person. And, and who wants to stay sober? Me, and Bill talks about, are we willing to go to any lengths to get this spiritual experience? And so anyways, if somebody is having a stuck, my specialty is if you're stuck, that I can only share is how I got unstuck, and how I got reintroduced to this beautiful program of Alcoholics Anonymous that I wasn't ready to grasp it all back in 1989 or 1995. It was still kind of working for me. I thought if I could get the kids, if I could get this beautiful Christmas picture of the kids and the husband and the stuff and the house and the trips now it's like, I give up. I'm going to start living for you, for God. And what ends up happening is that my heart is so overfull with joy, with peace, with love. And I do have a lot of beautiful perks, but I'm focused on, I heard people say, I do God's stuff and then he's got my back. So if anybody is having a problem with God, let me loan you my Tracy's higher power, because that's how I got mine. Is some spiritual woman. I remember, listening to these women and thinking, are you high? They were talking about God and they were talking about, not caring about material stuff. And I was just like, come on, be real. Well, you know what? If you stay long enough in this program, we get to graduate, from crawling, to being toddlers. And I feel like I am just a baby, but have never been, Bill talks about being rocketed into the fourth dimension. And it's like, I truly, truly feel that today. And it came through a lot of repeated humiliations, a lot of series of surrenders, I didn't just wake up one day and say, okay, here you go, God. No, it was little by little by little. And then but what encouraged me is when it talks about that profound alteration in our reaction to life, the first time that I realized that, like, I didn't get in an argument just now with somebody. Oh my gosh, normally that would have sent me off into, and that was like, oh, so I realized there's these little profound alterations in my reaction to life. Why? Because I'm simply committed. I simply got structure in my life. I simply started Mondays at 1:30, rain or shine. I talk to my sponsor. I send her my 10th step every night. I just started doing that kind of stuff. And I thought, that wasn't a long-term plan. I wanted quick, easier, softer way, quick. I want to do it fast. But the one thing that she talks about is the quote in the spiritual experience. It says, there is a principle which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. And that principle is contempt prior to investigation. And I thought, oh, that's really sweet, like Shakespeare, but what happened is she kept bringing me back to that. And whenever something was, when I was doing that, yeah, but you don't understand. I live in Mexico. I always had some little clause that I was trying to be the exception and saying, you don't understand. It's because my husband and I have been together for all these years. He won't go for that. You don't understand. You don't understand. Yeah, but. And she kept bringing me to this. And it was like, all of a sudden it just penetrated in my soul. And I thought, that's me. I've got my arms folded saying, mm-mm. And I hear people all around the country talking about, my sponsor always brings up these weird ideas, but I think that's not going to work. And I am one of them. I think, oh, I have to buy the heater myself. So anyways, the point is that, I allow God to wiggle in through the voice of my sponsor, through the voice of, sitting quietly. I make it a priority. She would say, have you meditated? And I'm like, sure, yeah, I meditated. I'm like, how do you know? So she's encouraging me to be the kind of person, on page 86, it talks about we are undisciplined. Alcoholics, we're undisciplined. I don't want to wake up the same time every morning. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to eat a solid breakfast, lunch, and dinner sitting down. I'd rather just eat potato chips standing up. There's so many areas of my life where I don't want to be disciplined, but I get to, get out of my comfort zone, and I get to be a person that's willing to just take direction, and I'm willing to follow this design for living. It says that there's nothing less for us to do than to pick up the spiritual toolkit that's been laid out at our feet. And it talks about, hang on, Pilar, I'm speaking at a meeting. I'll call you later, sweetie. I love you. My little Swansea just got out of, I'm sorry, you guys, but she's calling me. She's seeking me out. She fell off the grid for a little while, and she's in Washington, and she's like on day 2 again. And, that's the kind of thing that gets me excited. And that's a gift, because when you can tap into that and you become one link in the chain, you got your one hand over here to your sponsor, and then you've got your hand over there, and you get to be, it's the most privileged place to be, a little link in this chain. I'm good. I am absolutely, life is wonderful because that's the most important thing, is being locked into that little chain. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come and to share. And I really pray that something came out of my mouth that went to somebody's ears that might say, you know what, I'll get a sponsor. I love my hard sponsor today. She works a hard program so she gets to live an easy life. And she's helped me get, have enough of a spiritual experience that, I have the central fact today is that God is the most important thing in my life. There's a lot of beautiful facts. There's the central fact, there's the, I have them all written down now. The central fact, the great fact, the tremendous fact, and the blessed fact, and the great reality. And it's like, you know, I get to be, you know, I'm not trying to impress you, but you know what? All of this is just properly arming me with the facts so that I can help someone like Pilar that just called me and help her to get on this train, to get that step one. Yeah. I'm powerless over alcohol. My life's unmanageable. I come to believe that a power greater than myself will restore me to sanity. And the step 3 is that I'll let him. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I love you all, and I hope you keep coming back.